What's up, people? I am back and we are doing this again, aren't we? Welcome to Real Talk with Wayne Dupree here on Epoch TV, the place where we are advancing logical and common sense voices for a large segment of hungry minds. Now, if this is your first time watching the program, welcome. My name is Wayne Dupree and I'm a father of three, military veteran who served in the U.S. Air Force and deployed to Operation Desert Storm and Desert Shield. I have been active within the conservative movement since 2012 and I haven't slowed down, but I do relish this opportunity to speak to you on a weekly basis, giving you real talk for today's time. Now, we're in some dire times, but all is not lost. We need to work together and pool our resources to save our country because the disease of lawlessness is spreading from coast to coast. The Minneapolis City Council is trying once again to dismantle the city's police force, this time voting on a plan to replace the city's police department with a public safety department. Now that would, this public safety department would handle emergency calls with a comprehensive public health approach. The Minneapolis City Council was blocked from abolishing the police force last year by the city's charter commission, which pointed out that the city's municipal charter requires it to have a law enforcement division. I'm sure that angered a whole lot of people, woke people. Armed with that knowledge, the Yes for Minneapolis Committee is pressuring a measure that would give voters the option to amend the city's charter to move towards a public safety department. Fox News cited local sources in this article where I quote, "The Minneapolis Policy and Government Oversight Committee, which is comprised of all 13 Minneapolis City Council members, approved the measure proposed by the advocacy group Yes for Minneapolis Committee in an 11-2 vote that will now be passed along to the General Council for a vote." Now, if the council votes in favor of the amendment, it would appear on the general election ballot for Minneapolis residents on November 2nd. In addition to that report, Fox 9 Minneapolis reports that the measure, if approved, would give the voters power to replace the city police department and call for public safety to have a comprehensive public health approach, but that does not explain what that means. Under the plan, the police department will be replaced in the charter with a public safety department, but doesn't outline how that department will work or be structured. The local outlet added, "I think some of the city council people need to go on a ride along and handle some of these calls on their own to see how the cops are doing it." The city is treating crime as a mental health issue. If you start with the wrong premise, any solution will merely exacerbate the problem. The measure reads simply, "Shall the charter be amended to create a Department of Public Safety that employs a comprehensive public health approach with a range of strategies and personnel, including licensed peaceful officers as necessary, to fulfill their responsibility for community safety, with the general nature of the amendments being briefly indicated in the explanatory note below, which is made part of this ballot." Listen, when you come down to replacing or trying to replace the police department, if there's one thing in legislation that you should always stay away from, it's the word shall. Shall is too broad. I've seen many investigations on the Hill where they talk about shall. It's been many fights in Congress over the word shall, and they're using the word shall in this legislation. According to the Yes for Minneapolis Twitter account, let me give you their quote. The Yes for Minneapolis committee crowed about the vote in a tweet claiming that the people of Minneapolis had spoken and had rebuked the city's charter commission, though the petition had just 20,000 signatures, around 5% of Minneapolis's population. Today's vote confirms what we've known all along. The people of Minneapolis are excited and ready to participate in their democracy to keep themselves and one another safe. That's what they tweeted. And that a handful of unelected people continue attempts to derail these efforts. The Minneapolis City Council has persisted in their efforts to first defund and then disband the city's law enforcement agencies, despite a shocking spike in violence that the city is on pace for a record-setting number of homicides, according to CARE 11 Minneapolis, by the end of June of 2021, which is already passed. The city had already racked up twice the number of shootings that they did in 2020. Crime has become so bad that a group of 8 residents sued the city in Minneapolis to force the city to refund the police and expand the police department to the number of officers required by the city's charter. Just last week, a Hennepin County judge ruled that Minneapolis must hire on additional police. Newsweek wrote the following: according to the order, the city must fund a police force of at least 0.17% employees per resident, which will equal around 730 sworn officers, or 2% of the city's population, following the publication of the 2020 census. The hiring of more police officers must be completed by June 30th, 2022. Now, right now, the department is operating with around 100 fewer officers than the order requires. One of the plaintiffs in the case blamed the rise in crime, now get this, on the city's fervor to defund the police, and suggests that those pressing the city council to strip the city of law enforcement are young and may not live in the area. That's almost in all the large cities right now. It seems like the young people are saying, we don't want the police. We don't want, or like the young and woke are saying, we don't want the police. We don't want law enforcement. We can do it ourselves. You can't do it yourself. Y'all can't even go to class by yourself. You can't even take care of yourself by yourself. That's why many young people are at home with their parents, sucking up their parents' insurance. This is just nuts. When the announcement was made to defund the police, that just opened the doors to a level of mayhem where taboos were erased, standards were no longer acknowledged, because only the cops would be wrong. A citizen couldn't be wrong.